My family thinks the local police will always protect them. They haven't met the federal agents building cases across 4 states. In my family, the men expected one daughter from each generation to live in our soundproof basement as the family punching bag. My grandfather built the room himself in 1962. He'd grown up watching his father hit his mother unconscious, watching his brothers terrorize their wives. So he invented what he called the feminist solution. One girl, chosen at 16, would absorb all the family's violence. The chosen one wore a locked silver anklet and lived in that basement 24/7. Whenever someone felt angry, stressed, or cruel, they had a designated target. My grandfather genuinely believed this protected other women in the family from random violence. 3 generations of men had grown up with this system. My father, my uncles, my older cousins, they'd all been taught from childhood that the basement girl existed for their anger. They'd accompany their fathers downstairs, learning which strikes left marks and which didn't. By adolescence, they had their own keys, and I would have called the police, but they scared me out of it. Instead of hearing bedtime stories as a child, they'd tell me stories about the foster care system, about how if I called the police, I'd end up there, where they'd rape me to death. And it's not like the women didn't participate in the feminist solution either. My grandmother selected the victims. My mother prepared the ankle ceremonies. My aunts delivered the meals through the slot, telling younger girls this was an honor and a necessity. They believed it. Without the anger room, they said, imagine how much worse things would be. I was 8 when my Aunt Sophia was chosen. I watched them lead her to the basement on her 16th birthday, watched her parents hand over their own daughter like a sacrifice. The tradition was specific. The girl served from age 16 until death or incapacitation. Then the next was chosen immediately. No gaps allowed. My grandmother kept meticulous records. Which girl served when, for how long, their performance ratings. She showed me once, proud of the organization. When I was 13, my Aunt Sophia was replaced with Elena. Every morning, my uncle visited before work. Wednesdays were my father's scheduled time. Weekends belonged to my grandfather. The women visited too, though less frequently. All the family's frustrations funneled into that room. It was around this time that I was finally smart enough to find something that changed everything. The heating vents connected every room in the house, and through them, I realized I could hear Elena begging. I heard the scheduled visits. I heard my grandmother explaining to my 9-year-old cousin Maya that she might be blessed with selection one day. That's when I started recording everything. 6 months of evidence hidden in the vents. I recruited 8 younger cousins who didn't want to be chosen. Nina mapped the ventilation system. Vera learned to pick locks. We dropped medical supplies to Elena and documented her injuries through the grates. The breaking point came at our annual Christmas dinner. My grandmother stood with the ceremonial selection bell. Elena had served well, she announced while pointing out her multiple severe injuries. It was time to choose her replacement. Her eyes settled on 9-year-old Maya, who smiled back, not understanding. I stood up and played 6 months of recordings through hidden speakers. The room erupted, but while family members screamed and tried to stop me, Vera had already called 911. The other girls formed a protective circle as evidence flooded the room. Audio of beatings, photos of the room, documentation going back decades. My family couldn't believe I'd betray the feminist solution. Even as police led them away, they insisted this system prevented worse violence. My grandmother kept repeating, we were protecting the family, one sacrifice to save many. But they'd been so confident in their tradition, so certain of their righteousness, they never imagined anyone would defy it. They fought until the end, hiring lawyers, claiming religious freedom, insisting the chosen girls volunteered. The arrests were quick and quiet. 17 family members were charged. That's when I truly realized how messed up our tradition really was. My family hired the best lawyers money could buy. 3 weeks later, we were in court. The judge reviewed all our evidence. Then he looked up with dead eyes. Case dismissed, he said. I saw it then, the scar on his wrist, the same mark all the men in my family wore. The scar caught the light as Judge Harrison gathered his papers. My hands shook as I watched him stand, watched my family members embrace their lawyers with relief flooding their faces. Elena swayed on her feet in the witness chair, her medical records scattered across the prosecutor's table like discarded trash. I grabbed the prosecutor's arm as he packed his briefcase. He yanked away without meeting my eyes, muttering something about jurisdiction issues. The bailiff ushered us toward the exit while my grandmother smiled triumphantly from across the courtroom. My father clapped my uncle's shoulder, both men already pulling out their phones. Outside the courthouse, reporters clustered around my family's legal team. I heard fragments of their statement about